Okay, so today's lesson is lesson 9. It's applying the properties of operations to add and subtract rational numbers. It has the same title as yesterday's lesson because it's the same topic. We're not learning anything new today. We're just kind of reviewing what we did yesterday, applying it to some new problem types. So in our standard list, we're still pretty much in the same place, which is applying properties of operations to add and subtract. This is our last lesson on adding and subtracting rational numbers. After this, we begin preparing for our test. Okay, exercise 1 asks you to unscramble the cards and show the steps in the correct order to arrive at the solution to the problem, which I've put here, 5 2/9 minus, in parentheses, 8.1 plus 5 2/9. This problem looks a little different than some of the problems that we've done. So along the right side, we have some possible steps for solving this problem. So I want you to look at the problems and think about what might be the next step in solving the problem. Okay, when you think you know what the next step is, raise your hand. Sky, you've got it? Come up, Sky, and pick the step you think is the right one, and you can just slide it into place. Oh, wait, sorry, you've got to select the select tool. I should have done that for you first. Okay. Oh, no, that's not working. That's sliding the whole thing. Okay, wait. No, it's not working. You know, I tried this at home, and it worked, and something happened when maybe it's because I did it. Maybe it's because I did it on PowerPoint. Okay, forget it. Sorry, I thought this would be fun to have you guys come up and slide them. Obviously, that's not going to work. So let me switch to this. All right, so which one did you think it was, Sky? Which one were you trying to slide? Second one from the bottom. This one? This one. Okay? Well, let's see. One of those is right. It's either this one or this one. If you think it's the top one, stick up one finger. If you think it's the bottom one, stick up 2 fingers.
I don't know.
Look at what has changed from one to the next. You want the one with the least amount of change. Okay, the correct one is the second one from the bottom. So your first impression was right, Sky. I'm going to write that out underneath this one since I can't slide it. So we have 5 2/9 plus negative 8.1 plus negative 5 2/9.
We write first or second, guys.
Yeah, if you really want to, you can. Okay, so what changed, Sky, from the first original problem to the first step? Yeah, we made the ones within the parentheses negative. That kind of goes with what we learned yesterday about the sum of the opposites being the same as the opposite of the sum. It's also, I consider this to be a type of distributing. Some of you alluded to the distributive property yesterday. You are actually distributing this negative sign to everything in the parentheses. It means we're subtracting everything that's in the parentheses. So here we're changing the sign to positive. We're adding the opposite. We can also look at it that way, as adding the opposite. Okay, so I'm going to scratch this one out because we did this one. What would be the next step in this problem? Ross, what do you think?
Switch to 5 2/9. Since they're the same in the beginning and in the end.
Okay.
5 2/9 plus negative 5 2/9.
Okay, so you want to move. So which one of these squares shows what you're talking about? Close. There's another one very similar to that. The bottom one, yeah. The difference between the bottom one and the second one, the bottom one moved the parentheses and moved this. I mean, not the bottom one, the one I'm pointing to here, which if someone's watching the video, like Devin, who's not here, he wouldn't know what I was pointing to. So this one does 2 things at once. This one only does one thing. So this moved, like you said, you need to move the -5 and 2/9.
Parentheses, just move the numbers aside.
Yeah, so all we did was switch the numbers inside to that step. And this is really detailed. You guys may not carry out every single one of these steps exactly, and that's okay. So we just move the -2/9 and the -8.1. What's that called when we move things around when we're adding and it's still the same result? Irene?
Commutative?
That's the commutative property. So commutative. Okay, and then the other one that Ross thought was next would be the next step, because we have 5 and 2/9 plus -5 and 2/9. And all of that is in parentheses, just showing that we're going to do that first, plus -8.1. So then what step would go next? This is getting easier because we're down to 2 steps. Kind of obvious at this point. Grace?
Top one.
The top one. Yeah, the bottom one's kind of obviously the answer, so we wouldn't want to pick that. When we add 5 and 2/9 plus -5 and 2/9, we get 0. And then when we add 0 plus -8.1, we get -8.1. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, we have a couple more examples that we are going to do together, examples 1 and 2, and then there are a few that you're going to try yourself that are significantly harder than the homework examples that we did. Okay, so number 1, we have 4 and 4/7 minus 4 and 4/7 minus 10. So thinking back to what, oh, it didn't say, I thought it said somebody who was arranging the cards. So what we did in the first example, what might be the first thing I would do to solve this problem? Sky?
Make what's in the parentheses negative numbers.
Okay, so change what's in the parentheses to negative numbers or to the opposites, because one of them is negative. And then what would I have to do? What else would I have to do? If I'm going to change what's inside the parentheses, what do I have to do to what's outside? This sign, what would I have to do to that? Yeah, make it addition. So I'm subtracting. Subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So I'm now going to add the opposite by adding. I'm going to make everything inside the parentheses its opposite. So I have -4 and 4/7. The opposite of minus 10 would be plus 10. Okay, what could I do next? Irene?
Wouldn't you change where the parentheses are so they're on the 4 and 4/7 to negative 4 and 4/7?
Good, because obviously 4 and 4/7, -4 and 4/7, they are, what do we call numbers that are the same but different sign? Go ahead.
Inverse
Try one more time.
Speak. Additive inverse.
There you go, additive inverses. So we want the 2 additive inverses to be added first. So we're going to move the parentheses. And then we have our little plus 10 floating out to the side. Okay, McKenna, what would I do next?
You would do 4 and 4/7 plus negative 4 and 4/7.
Yeah, I'm going to add what's in the parentheses, and what do I get?
You would get 0.
0. Sum of additive inverses is always 0. Plus 10, and I think we all know the answer to 0 plus 10 is 10. So kind of a long-winded way to solve the problem. Some of you would probably look immediately and say, oh, 4 and 4/7 minus 4 and 4/7 is 0. But what a lot of people might miss is the minus negative becoming a positive. So it really does help if you break it down. If I were doing it, I would probably rewrite this first step, and then I'd probably cut straight to the answer. I wouldn't write out every single step. But for today's examples, I do want you to show all of your steps. I'm not going to have you do that all the time. I won't require you to show all of your steps to this extent on the test. Okay, but for today, I want us to be really specific and think about what properties we're actually using. A lot of times, especially as accelerated math learners, we will do things in our heads and we don't really think about why we're doing them because we don't have to really think about why we're doing them. But then when the examples get harder, we get a little confused. So it's helpful to really understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. All right, let's take a look at this example. 5 plus negative 4 and 4/7. What do you think I should do first for this one? Katie?
Separate the 4 and 4/7 from the 4.
Okay, great. Separate the mixed number. So what would it separate to?
It would separate the negative 4 and negative 4/7.
Good. Negative 4 plus negative 4/7. Okay, now what can I do? Pat, what do you think I could do next?
You do 5 minus 4.
Okay, so you want to combine the 5 minus 4. So what can I do to show that that's what I should do next?
I don't know. I don't like this. Do it in my head.
Carly? Move the parentheses. So Pat, all we're going to do is just take this. The parentheses right now tells us that we have to add these two numbers first.
Yeah.
So we're going to just move the parentheses, which tells us that we're going to add 5 plus negative 4, and then the negative 4/7 will be floating by itself over here. Riley, what should I do now?
Add 5 and negative 4.
Mm-hmm. What do I get?
1.
1. So now I have 1 plus negative 4/7. That's a little easier if you look at the number line to think about what you're doing. Braden, what would I get as an answer? 3/7. Good. Okay. Exercise 2 says teamwork. Here's what you're supposed to do for this. You are going to turn around to work with your partner, same partner you've been doing the card game with. Elena is waving at her non-existent partner. Elena, you can team up with either the people to your right or the people to your left. It's up to you. What I want you to do is take each problem. You are going to, your partner will write one step of the problem. You will write the next step, and so on. So you're going to take turns writing steps. I will tell you how many steps I have for each problem just to give you an idea. You should not be solving these problems in 1 or 2 steps. For letter A, I have 4 separate lines that I used in solving it, so I have 4 steps. And you don't have to have exactly like me. You may have 1 more or 1 less, but it should be close. For B, I had 3 steps. I had 5 steps for C and 5 steps for D. So I want you to really take your time and break these down.
You want to know one paper?
All right, we're going to record the correct answers. We already went over a couple of these in class. We're only going to show work if necessary. Part B was 19 and 1/8. Is there anyone who needs Ailey to explain how she arrived at 19 and 1/8? You would like to see it? Ailey, can you come up and show us? You want to just write it up and explain it? This will be interesting actually for all of you because she may have done it a different way. Hang on, let me give you a clean slate to start with. Here, let's get rid of this. Okay, there you go.
First, I changed it to 32 plus 12 plus negative 12
Yeah, there you go.
plus negative 7, 8.
Poor Ailey has to stretch so far to write that up there.
And I changed it.
Okay, is everyone with her with what she did so far? Okay.
And then I added these together to get 20 plus
Guys in the back, please don't talk. Okay.
7, 8. And then I did 20 minus 20 plus negative 7 eighths. I got 19 and 1 8.
Okay, very good. Any questions about any of the steps? Okay, good. Letter C. Dakota, can you tell us what you and your partner got for letter C?
29.3.
Good, 29.3 is 29.C. 29.3 is correct. Is there anyone who would like Dakota to explain how he and his partner arrived at 29.3? Okay. All right, letter D, I'm going to ask for a volunteer because not everyone got there. Eve, tell me what you got.
1 and 4/5.
1 4/5, or did anyone get it as a decimal? What's the decimal equivalent of 1 4/5? Carly? 1.8. Okay, this one, since a lot of you didn't get to it, I'm just going to go over this quickly because there were a lot of people were asking me questions about this one. This one, the first thing I would do is to change the minus a negative to plus a positive. And I can take away the parentheses because I don't have two signs right next to each other. And then also minus 4/5 would become plus a negative 4/5. Okay, then Sky noticed that you could reduce 16/20ths to 4/5. My thinking on this was I could make a common denominator and add them together, but she saw right away that this would reduce. So I'm going to do it Sky's way because it's actually a little simpler that way. 16/20ths reduces to 4/5. And then if we move this 4/5, the negative 4/5, over next to the 4/5, we get 0 plus 1.8, which is just 1.8. Okay, we are not going to do exercise 3. Your homework is going to be all of the problem sets. There are 5 problems. On the 5th problem, it asks you to explain. So for all problems, you are showing your work. For the 5th problem, you're going to explain why you did each step. So if you change subtraction to addition because it's the same as adding the opposite, you need to say that. If you use the commutative property, you need to say, I use the commutative property. So just explain what you did step by step.